They delayed my flight for their spoiled child and almost killed the woman I was sent to save. That day I swore, one way or another they would pay. My name is Dr. Emilia Hart, and I specialize in cryogenic medicine. When the call came at 3 in the morning, I knew it was serious. Dr. Hart, we need you immediately. Celine Novak's vitals are failing. You're the only one who can stabilize her. Celine Novak had been cryogenically frozen for 30 years after a terminal illness. New technology finally offered hope for revival. I was part of the team that developed the serum that could save her life. I grabbed my emergency kit, the temperature-controlled case containing the serum, and rushed to the airport. The serum had a 6-hour window before it degraded. Every minute mattered. At the gate, I showed my priority boarding pass. Medical emergency. I need to board immediately. The gate agent nodded and opened the door. I was halfway down the jetway when chaos erupted behind me. A woman's voice, shrill and demanding, echoed through the terminal. Stop that plane. My son isn't here yet. You will not leave without us. I turned to see a woman in designer clothes and excessive jewelry storming toward the gate. Behind her, airport security tried to calm her down. Ma'am, the flight is already boarding. You'll need to. Do you know who I am? She screamed. I'm Isabella Hayes. My fiancé owns half this city. This plane waits for me. The gate agent looked torn between protocol and the screaming woman. Isabella Hayes stood with her arms crossed, her face red with entitled fury. A boy of about 8 ran up behind her, shoving another child out of his way. Mama, I want to sit in first class. Make them give us first class. Isabella smiled at her son indulgently. Of course, darling. We'll have whatever you want. I stepped forward, my medical case held tightly. Excuse me, but this flight has a medical emergency priority. Every minute counts. A woman's life depends on. I don't care about your emergency, Isabella interrupted, not even looking at me. My son needs to board and we're boarding in first class. Now. The gate agent checked her computer nervously. Ma'am, first class is full. The next flight is unacceptable. Isabella shrieked. She pulled out her phone. I'm calling my fiancé. Adrian Novak will hear about this incompetence. My blood ran cold. Adrian Novak. Celine's brother. The heir to the Novak fortune. This woman was engaged to my patient's brother, and she was delaying the flight that could save his sister's life. Miss Hayes, I said firmly. Your fiancé's sister is dying. I'm carrying the only serum that can save her. Please let us take off. Isabella finally looked at me. Her eyes were cold and calculating. Oh, you're the doctor. How convenient. I'm sure Celine can wait a few more minutes while my son gets settled. She smiled cruelly. After all, she's been frozen for 30 years. What's another hour? Rage filled me, but I forced it down. An hour could kill her. Then you should have arrived earlier, Isabella said dismissively. The standoff lasted 23 minutes. 23 minutes where Isabella demanded seat changes, complained about luggage space, and let her son run wild through the cabin. I sat in my seat watching the clock tick away precious time, my hands gripping the serum case so tightly my knuckles turned white. Finally, mercifully, we began to taxi. I closed my eyes and tried to calculate. The delay had cost us time, but we might still make it. The serum's cooling system was top grade. We had a chance. Then turbulence hit. The plane shook violently. Overhead bins rattled. Passengers gasped. I held the serum case close, protecting it with my body. Isabella's son, unbuckled and running in the aisle despite warnings, stumbled and fell. He started screaming. Then his eyes locked onto my case. I want that box, he shouted. Mama, I want that shiny box. Honey, that's not a toy, I said as calmly as I could. It contains medicine. Very important medicine. The boy reached for it. I pulled it away. He lunged again, this time grabbing the handle with surprising strength. No. I yanked it back, but he would not let go. The plane shook again. The boy fell, hitting his head on an armrest. Then he started convulsing. Teasing. His body jerked violently on the floor. Pie baby. Isabella screamed. What did you do to my baby? I immediately dropped to my knees, my medical training taking over. He's having a seizure. I can help. Isabella shoved me hard. Don't touch him. You did this. You pushed him. I'm a doctor, I said firmly. Let me help him before. Stay away from my son. Isabella screamed, her face twisted with rage and fear. The boy's seizure worsened. His lips were turning blue. He needed immediate intervention or he could suffer permanent brain damage. Miss Hayes, your son needs help now. Please let me. You tried to kill him. Everyone saw it. You pushed him because he wanted your stupid box. Flight attendants rushed over. One of them recognized me. Dr. Hart is a physician. She can help. No. Isabella was hysterical now. She attacked my child. Arrest her. Someone arrest this woman. The boy's convulsions were slowing, which was actually more dangerous. It meant his brain was shutting down from lack of oxygen. I made a decision. I pushed past Isabella and began CPR. Chest compressions. Airway clearing. Everything I had learned in medical school. Isabella tried to pull me away, but a flight attendant restrained her. Let the doctor work. After 2 minutes that felt like hours, the boy gasped. His eyes fluttered open. He was breathing. You attacked him. Isabella shrieked, even as relief flooded her face. You assaulted my child. I'm pressing charges. I'm suing you. She spotted my serum case on the floor where I had set it down. In her rage and hysteria, she grabbed it. This is evidence. This is what you used to hurt him. No. I lunged for the case, but Isabella was already raising it above her head. That contains medicine. If you damage it, someone will die. Isabella's eyes were wild. You're lying. This is just another one of your tricks. He threw the case down. It hit the aircraft floor with a sickening crack. I heard glass breaking inside. The temperature seal breached. I grabbed the case and opened it with trembling hands. The serum vials were intact, but the cooling mechanism was shattered. Coolant leaked across the floor. Without proper temperature control, the serum would degrade rapidly. What have you done? I screamed. Isabella was not listening. She had returned to her son, who was now conscious and crying. The flight attendants were trying to calm the situation, calling for the captain. A man in a security uniform pushed through the crowd. He looked at me and I saw recognition flash in his eyes. Dr. Hart. His voice was familiar. I looked up and felt my stomach drop. Marcus Reed. My estranged brother. We had not spoken in 3 years. Marcus. I'm head of security for this airline, he said quietly. What happened here? I explained quickly. The delay. The boy grabbing my case. The seizure. Isabella's accusations and the broken cooling system. Marcus's face grew darker with each word. The serum. Has maybe 3 hours now instead of 6. I need to get to the lab immediately when we land. Marcus looked at Isabella, who was now loudly telling anyone who would listen that I had attacked her son. She's going to bury you, Marcus said quietly. The Hayes family has connections everywhere. And if you're carrying medicine for Celine Novak. He paused. Evelyn Novak will blame you for any delay. She's already called the airline twice demanding updates. Evelyn Novak. Celine's mother. A woman known for her ruthlessness and power. If I arrived late, if the serum failed, she would destroy me. I can't worry about that now, I said. I just need to save Celine. Marcus nodded. I'll do what I can. But be careful. You're walking into a war you don't understand. We landed 47 minutes behind schedule. I ran through the terminal, the damaged case clutched to my chest. Airport security cleared a path, but it was not fast enough. By the time I reached the lab, the serum temperature had risen to dangerous levels. The lead technician, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, met me at the door. How bad? She asked. I showed her the temperature readings. Her face went pale. This might not work. The protein structures have started to degrade. We have to try, I said. It's her only chance. We rushed to the cryogenic chamber where Celine Novak waited. The room was filled with monitoring equipment, all showing vitals that were failing rapidly. Evelyn Novak stood beside the chamber, her face a mask of cold fury. She was in her 60s, elegant and terrifying in equal measure. You're late, she said. Not a question. An accusation. There were complications on the flight. I came as quickly as, complications. Evelyn's voice could have frozen the room colder than the cryo chamber. My daughter is dying and you're making excuses? The serum was damaged during the flight. We'll do everything we can, but no excuses, Evelyn interrupted. You were given one job. Save my daughter. If you fail, I will personally ensure you never practice medicine again. I swallowed my anger and fear. I understand. Now please let me work. Dr. Tanaka and I worked frantically. We had to stabilize Celine's vitals before administering the compromised serum. Every second her condition worsened. The monitors beeped warnings. Her brain activity was dropping. We're losing her, Dr. Tanaka whispered. I made a decision. Start the revival sequence. Now. But the serum is our only chance. Do it. We injected the serum directly into Celine's system. For a moment nothing happened. Then the monitors went crazy. Alarms blared. Celine's body convulsed. She's crashing. Dr. Tanaka shouted. I grabbed the defibrillator. Clear. Celine's body jerked with the electrical shock. The monitors showed no change. Again. Clear. Another shock. Still nothing. Evelyn's voice cut through the chaos. If my daughter dies, so does your career. I ignored her. All my focus was on Celine. One more time. Higher voltage. Clear. This time something changed. The monitor showed a heartbeat. Weak but present. We've got a pulse, Dr. Tanaka said, relief flooding her voice. It's stabilizing. Over the next 6 hours, we worked to bring Celine fully out of cryostasis. It was a delicate and dangerous work. One wrong move could kill her or leave her brain damaged. But slowly, miraculously, she responded. Her vitals strengthened. Her brain activity increased. By dawn, Celine Novak opened her eyes for the first time in 30 years. The press called it the Novak miracle. Cameras flooded the hospital. Reporters demanded interviews. And somehow Isabella Hayes was at the center of it all. She stood beside Evelyn Novak, playing the role of concerned almost daughter-in-law. I was so worried, Isabella told cameras, dabbing at fake tears. I prayed the whole flight that Celine would survive. I watched from the background, exhausted and invisible. No one mentioned the delay. No one talked about the damaged serum. Isabella took bows while I stood in the shadows, knowing the truth. But then Celine spoke. Her voice was weak, barely a whisper. But her words changed everything. Where is Dr. Hart? I need to thank the woman who saved my life. They brought me to Celine's bedside. She looked fragile, 30 years of frozen sleep evident in her pale skin. But her eyes were sharp and intelligent. You saved me, she said simply. Thank you. I just did my job, I replied. Celine shook her head slightly. No, I remember parts of it. The cold, the darkness, then warmth. Your voice telling me to hold on. You fought for me. Evelyn stood nearby, her expression unreadable. Yes, Dr. Hart performed adequately under difficult circumstances. Adequately. After 6 hours of desperate work to save her daughter's life. I bit my tongue. Celine's eyes drifted closed. She was exhausted and visitors were limited. As I turned to leave, I heard her whisper something that made me pause. The chamber. Someone locked it. I remember. A woman's face. Watching me freeze. I looked back, but Celine was asleep again. Dr. Tanaka had heard it too. Her eyes met mine with concern. Delusional, Evelyn said quickly. The cryo process often causes false memories. Nothing to worry about. But something in her voice made me wonder. Had it really been an accident that Celine needed to be frozen? Or had someone wanted her out of the way? Before I could think more about it, Isabella Hayes appeared in the doorway. She had a camera crew with her. Dr. Hart. I've been looking everywhere for you. I wanted to apologize publicly for the misunderstanding on the plane. Misunderstanding. She had thrown my serum case and nearly killed her own son. I don't think, please, Isabella interrupted, positioning herself so the cameras could capture us both. I was just so frightened for my son. I'm sure you understand. No hard feelings. She extended her hand and I realized this was a trap. If I refused to shake it, I would look petty on camera. If I accepted, I was forgiving her publicly for nearly destroying everything. I shook Isabella's hand briefly. The cameras flashed. She smiled warmly for the press, then leaned close and whispered so only I could hear. You think you're special because you saved her? You're nothing. A tool. Once Adrian marries me, this family will be mine. Don't forget your place. She pulled back, still smiling for the cameras. I'm just so grateful everything worked out. Celine is like a sister to me already. The reporters ate it up. Isabella was playing the role perfectly. The caring future family member, generous enough to forgive the doctor who had misunderstood her on the plane. I excused myself as quickly as possible, returning to the lab to file my reports. But the damage was done. Over the next few days the story shifted. Isabella was praised for her grace under pressure. I was barely mentioned except as the medical team in generic terms. Then things got worse. I received a summons to Evelyn Novak's office. She sat behind a massive desk, her expression cold. "Dr. Hart, we need to discuss your conduct on the flight." My stomach dropped. "My conduct? Isabella Hayes has filed a complaint. She claims you assaulted her son, then tried to cover it up by helping him. She has witnesses who say you grabbed the boy roughly and knocked him down." "That's not true. He had a seizure. I performed CPR. She also claims you deliberately damaged your own equipment to cover up the fact that you arrived unprepared." Evelyn slid a folder across the desk. "These are statements from passengers on your flight. They corroborate her version." I opened the folder with shaking hands. Page after page of statements claiming I had been aggressive with the child. That I had thrown my case down deliberately. That I had seemed unstable. "These are lies," I said quietly. "Isabella is manipulating. Are you calling my son's fiancée a liar?" Evelyn's voice was dangerous. "Because that would be very unwise. I'm saying there's another side to this story," I insisted. "I have my own report filed with the airline. Security footage from the plane has been reviewed," Evelyn interrupted. "And it's inconclusive. The footage shows a confrontation, but it's unclear who initiated it. What is clear is that you arrived late with compromised equipment, and my daughter nearly died because of it. Your daughter nearly died because Isabella delayed our takeoff for 23 minutes. The words burst out before I could stop them. Evelyn stood slowly. "Dr. Hart, I'm going to give you some advice. Isabella Hayes comes from a very powerful family. Her father controls 3 pharmaceutical companies and has political connections across the country. If you continue to make accusations against her, you will lose. So the truth doesn't matter?" "The truth is whatever can be proven," Evelyn said coldly. "And right now all the evidence points to you being incompetent at best, malicious at worst." She sat back down. "You're suspended pending investigation. If Celine's recovery continues successfully, we'll consider this a personnel issue. If complications arise, we'll pursue legal action." "You can't be serious." "I'm always serious, Dr. Hart. Especially when it comes to protecting my family. And like it or not, Isabella will soon be part of that family." I left that office feeling like the ground had dropped out from beneath me. Everything I had worked for, everything I had achieved was being stripped away because a spoiled woman could not handle a flight delay. I called Marcus. He answered on the 3rd ring. "I heard," he said before I could speak. "I'm sorry, Emilia. You can help me. You saw what happened. You can testify." "I can't," Marcus said quietly. "I've been instructed not to involve myself. The airline doesn't want to antagonize the Novak family. So you're going to let them destroy me?" "I'm going to protect my job so I can support my family," Marcus said. "I wish I could help. But some battles aren't worth fighting." The next 2 weeks were the darkest of my life. The medical board opened an investigation. Colleagues who I thought were friends stopped returning my calls. My suspension became indefinite. The press, which had briefly mentioned me as part of Celine's miracle recovery, now ran stories questioning my competence. Anonymous sources claimed I had a history of reckless behavior. My apartment lease was suddenly under review by the landlord. My car insurance was cancelled for risk assessment reasons. It was not random. Someone was systematically destroying my life, and I knew exactly who. Isabella Hayes smiled from magazine covers as the media darling who had stood by the Novak family during their time of crisis. She gave interviews about planning her wedding to Adrian Novak, about her excitement to be part of such a prestigious family. I watched one interview from my couch, unable to look away from the train wreck. "Some people can't handle the pressure of working with elite families," Isabella said sweetly to the interviewer. "I don't blame Dr. Hart. She just wasn't prepared for the responsibility. I hope she finds work that's more suited to her capabilities." It was a masterclass in public humiliation. She never said anything actionable, nothing I could sue over. But the message was clear. I was beneath her. Unworthy. Dismissed. I was considering giving up entirely when my doorbell rang. I opened it to find a young woman standing there. She was in her 20s, dressed in designer clothes but with an expression of genuine concern. Dr. Hart? I'm Celine Novak. May I come in? I was so shocked I just stepped aside. Celine entered slowly, still moving carefully as she recovered. She sat on my couch and looked at me directly. I remember what really happened, she said. And I want to help you fight back. You shouldn't be here, I said. If your mother finds out. My mother doesn't control me, Celine interrupted. Not anymore. 30 years is a long time to think about who you can trust. He pulled out a tablet. I've been reviewing everything. The flight reports. The medical files. The timeline. And I've been talking to people. Quietly, carefully. I know Isabella delayed that flight. I know she damaged your serum. And I know she's been systematically destroying your reputation to cover it up. Hope sparked in my chest. Can you prove it? Not yet. But I have something better. I have questions. Celine showed me her tablet. It displayed financial records. Complex, layered transactions that I could barely follow. My mother has been lying about my cryo-freeze. She told everyone it was medical necessity. But look at these dates. The decision to freeze me came 2 days after I discovered something about the family business. What did you discover? That someone was stealing from our company. Millions of dollars funneled through shell corporations. I was about to expose it when I got sick. Celine's voice was bitter. Very convenient timing, don't you think? You think your mother froze you to protect an embezzler? I think someone wanted me silenced. And I think that same someone is very afraid of what I might remember now that I'm awake. Celine looked at me seriously. Isabella isn't just Adrian's fiancée. She's connected to this somehow. I can feel it. But I need help proving it. And I need someone who isn't afraid to stand up to my family. Why me? Because you already did, Celine said simply. You fought to save my life when everyone else had given up. You stood up to Isabella even when it cost you everything. You're exactly the kind of person I need on my side. Celine's visit changed everything. She gave me purpose again, a reason to fight instead of hide. We began working together carefully and secretly. Celine used her family connections to access information I could not reach. I used my medical expertise to piece together the truth about her original illness. What we found was disturbing. Celine's medical records showed a rapid onset illness that doctors at the time could not explain. But when I reviewed the blood work, something stood out. Traces of a synthetic compound that should not have been there. You were poisoned, I told Celine one evening as we reviewed files in my apartment. Someone gave you something that mimicked a terminal illness. Celine's face went pale. Who would do that? Someone who needed you out of the way for 30 years. Someone who benefited from your absence. We looked at the list of people who had access to Celine before her freezing. Family members. Close friends. Business associates. And one name that appeared repeatedly in the visitor logs. Evelyn Novak. Celine's own mother. No, Celine whispered. My mother wouldn't. She's terrible sometimes, but she wouldn't try to kill me. Maybe she didn't mean to kill you. Maybe cryostasis was always the plan. Keep you preserved until whatever they needed to hide was safely buried. It was a horrifying theory. But the more we investigated, the more evidence we found. Evelyn had consolidated power in Celine's absence. She had made business decisions that benefited certain families, including the Hayes family. Isabella's father started doing business with our company right after I was frozen, Celine noted. His pharmaceutical firm became one of our biggest partners. Convenient, I said. We needed to talk to Adrian. Celine's brother was the key to everything. If he was complicit, we were finished. If he was innocent, he might help us. Celine arranged a meeting at a private location, a small cafe far from anywhere the family might frequent. Adrian Novak was not what I expected. The media portrayed him as a cold, calculating business heir. But the man who sat across from me in that cafe looked tired and troubled. Celine says you've been investigating our family, he said without preamble. I should probably be angry about that. Instead, I'm curious why. Because someone tried to kill your sister, I said bluntly. And that same someone is destroying my life to cover it up. Adrian was silent for a long moment. Then he pulled out his own tablet. I've been investigating too. For years, actually. I never believed Celine's illness was natural. But Mother shut down every attempt to review her case. He showed me files. His own research into the company finances, the suspicious timing of business deals, the connections between families. When Mother announced Isabella and I were getting engaged, I was confused. I barely knew the woman. But Mother insisted it was a strategic alliance. Good for the family. Good for business. Did you agree to it? I didn't fight it hard enough, Adrian admitted. I was grieving Celine. I let Mother control everything. By the time I realized what was happening, Isabella was already calling herself my fiancée to the press. He looked at Celine. When you woke up, when you said my name and smiled, I felt like I'd been given a second chance. A chance to be the brother you deserved instead of the coward I'd become. You're not a coward, Celine said gently. You were manipulated. We all were. Adrian turned to me. Dr. Hart, I owe you an enormous apology. I let Isabella trash your reputation because it was easier than confronting her. I let Mother scapegoat you instead of demanding the truth. That ends now. What are you proposing? I asked. An alliance. You need your name cleared. Celine needs justice for what was done to her. And I need to free myself from a family that's built on lies. He smiled slightly. I think we can help each other. Over the next month we built our case carefully. Adrian used his position to access company records that had been sealed. Celine used her returning memories to identify key dates and events. And I used my medical expertise to document the poisoning and its effects. We discovered something crucial. The synthetic compound used to poison Celine came from Heiress Pharmaceuticals, Isabella's father's company. It was an experimental drug designed to induce temporary organ failure for transplant research. Someone had modified it to create long-term illness instead. Isabella's father helped poison me, Celine said quietly when we made the connection. And my mother helped cover it up in exchange for business advantages. It was worse than we thought. This was not just about silencing Celine. It was about two powerful families forming an alliance built on betrayal and attempted murder. But we still needed proof that Isabella herself was involved. She had been young when Celine was frozen, barely out of college. Could she have known what her father was doing? The answer came from an unexpected source. A former employee of Heiress Pharmaceuticals reached out to Adrian after seeing news coverage of Celine's recovery. He had documents showing that Isabella had personally delivered a vitamin supplement to Celine in the weeks before her illness. She knew, I said, looking at the evidence. She was part of it from the beginning. Then why did she delay your flight? Celine asked. Why risk everything to damage the serum? Adrian's face went dark. Because she wanted you to die. Not wake up. If you died during revival, it would look like natural complications from long-term cryostasis. No questions asked. No memories to threaten her position. She needed me dead before I could remember her face, Celine whispered. It was a chilling realization. Isabella had not just been careless or entitled on that flight. She had been actively sabotaging my rescue mission, hoping Celine would die so her secret stayed buried. I confronted Isabella privately before we went public. I wanted to see her face when she realized we knew everything. I found her at a charity luncheon holding court among wealthy donors. She saw me approaching and her smile turned predatory. Dr. Hart. How brave of you to show your face in public. I heard your medical license might be suspended permanently. Such a shame. We need to talk, I said quietly. Privately. Something in my expression must have worried her because she excused herself and followed me to a side room. Once the door closed, her mask dropped. What do you want? She snapped. The truth, I said. About why you poisoned Celine 30 years ago. About why you delayed my flight. About why you've been destroying my life. Isabella laughed. You think you're clever, don't you? Do you have any proof of these wild accusations? I pulled out a tablet and showed her the documents. The pharmaceutical records. The delivery logs. The timeline that connected her to Celine's poisoning. Her laughter died. Where did you get these? Everywhere. Turns out when you build your life on lies, evidence tends to pile up. Isabella's face went cold. It doesn't matter. My family is more powerful than yours. My lawyers are better. No one will believe some disgraced doctor over me. Adrian believes me, I said. And Celine remembers. For the first time I saw real fear in Isabella's eyes. Adrian doesn't know anything. He's going to marry me in 3 months. We'll combine our family's fortunes and none of this will matter. Actually, Adrian's voice came from behind her. He had entered through another door, Celine beside him. I know everything. And the engagement is over. Isabella spun around. Adrian darling, she's lying. She's just jealous because— Enough, Adrian said quietly. I've heard enough lies. He pulled out his phone. In fact, I've been recording this entire conversation, including your implied confession. Isabella's face went through several emotions in rapid succession. Rage, fear, calculation. You can't use that, she said finally. It was recorded without my consent. Illegal. Actually, this state is a one-party consent jurisdiction, I said. Perfectly legal. Isabella lunged for Adrian's phone, but he stepped back easily. Don't make this worse than it already is. Worse. Isabella's voice rose to a shriek. You're ruining everything. My family and yours were supposed to unite. I've spent years building toward this. Building on my sister's grave, Adrian said coldly. Did you really think I'd marry someone who tried to kill Celine? She wasn't supposed to wake up. The words burst out before Isabella could stop them. The room went completely silent. What did you just say? Celine asked quietly. Isabella realized her mistake too late. I didn't mean. I just meant. You meant that you sabotaged Dr. Hart's rescue mission, Adrian finished. You damaged the serum deliberately. You delayed the flight. You did everything you could to ensure Celine died during revival. Prove it, Isabella said desperately. You can't prove any of that. We don't need to, I said. You just confessed. On recording. I held up my own phone. I had been recording too from the moment I entered the room. Isabella looked between us, finally understanding that she was trapped. My father will bury you all. He has connections, had connections, Adrian corrected. I've already contacted the FDA and SEC about Heiress Pharmaceuticals' illegal drug testing. Your father is facing federal charges. His company will be shut down by the end of the week. Isabella's face crumbled. All her arrogance and entitlement dissolved, revealing the desperate woman beneath. Please, she whispered. Please don't do this. I can disappear. I'll go away. Just don't destroy my family. Like you tried to destroy mine? Celine asked. Like you destroyed Dr. Hart's career? Why should we show you mercy? Because I'm begging, Isabella said, tears streaming down her face. Please. I looked at Adrian and Celine. This was their decision, not mine. Adrian stared at Isabella with an expression I could not quite read. Did my mother know? About all of it? Isabella hesitated, then nodded. She knew. She helped plan it. Celine was asking too many questions about company finances. Your mother wanted her removed. My father provided the means. The cryo-freeze was supposed to be temporary, just until the financial investigations died down. But then 30 years passed, Celine finished. And I became a convenient piece of family tragedy instead of a person. I wasn't supposed to fall for Adrian, Isabella said quietly. That wasn't part of the plan. But over the years watching him grieve you, I thought maybe we could build something real. That this could become more than just a business arrangement. You fell in love with my grief? Adrian's voice was hollow. You're truly disturbed. I loved you. Isabella shouted. Everything I did to secure our future together. You tried to murder my sister. Twice. Adrian's words were ice. There is no future for us. There never was. He pulled out his phone again. I'm calling my lawyers. And then I'm calling the police. You're going to be charged with attempted murder, corporate espionage, and fraud. Your family's connection to Heiress Pharmaceuticals will be investigated. Every deal, every transaction, every lie. Isabella's face went pale. Your mother will never let you do this. She's as guilty as I am. If I go down, she goes down too. I know, Adrian said simply. And I'm prepared for that. He looked at Celine. Our mother isn't the woman we thought she was. It's time we all faced the truth. Within an hour, police arrived. Isabella was arrested on multiple charges. The media, always hungry for scandal, descended like vultures. By evening the story was everywhere. Pharmaceutical heiress arrested in cryo-murder plot. Novak family scandal explodes. Dr. Hart vindicated as truth emerges. My phone would not stop ringing. News outlets, lawyers, colleagues who had abandoned me suddenly wanted to reconnect. Adrian called a press conference for the next day. Every major news outlet attended. I stood backstage with Celine, watching as Adrian faced the cameras. "Thank you all for coming," he began. "I have a statement about recent events in my family." He looked directly at the cameras, his expression serious. 30 years ago my sister Celine was poisoned by people we trusted. She was then frozen in cryostasis not to save her life, but to silence her. For 3 decades, my family built our reputation on a lie. The reporters erupted with questions. Adrian held up his hand. Recently, Celine was revived by the heroic efforts of Dr. Emilia Hart. But even that rescue was nearly sabotaged by the same people who had poisoned Celine originally. Isabella Hayes, my former fiancée, deliberately delayed Dr. Hart's flight and damaged critical medical equipment in an attempt to ensure Celine never woke up. He pulled out documents. I have evidence of corporate espionage, fraud, and attempted murder. These documents show a conspiracy between the Hayes family and members of my own family to manipulate our company for profit while keeping Celine silenced. The room exploded. Cameras flashed continuously. Reporters shouted over each other. "What about your mother?" someone yelled. Was Evelyn Novak involved? Adrian's jaw tightened. My mother will be facing her own investigation. The evidence suggests she was complicit in the original poisoning and subsequent cover-up. A reporter from a major network stood. Dr. Hart was suspended and professionally destroyed. Will there be consequences for those who participated in that character assassination? Absolutely, Adrian said firmly. Dr. Hart's suspension is being lifted immediately. Her medical license will be fully restored. And the Novak family will be issuing a formal apology along with compensation for the damage done to her career and reputation. He gestured for me to join him on stage. I hesitated, but Celine pushed me forward gently. I walked out into the lights, into the chaos of cameras and questions. Adrian stepped aside, giving me the microphone. They delayed my flight for their spoiled child, I said, my voice steady. They damaged equipment meant to save a life. They destroyed my career to cover their crimes. But the truth has a way of surviving even when powerful people try to bury it. I looked directly at the cameras. Isabella Hayes is in custody. The evidence against her is overwhelming. And I'm standing here today because Celine Novak had the courage to remember, and Adrian Novak had the courage to believe her. The questions came fast, but I answered them all. About the flight. About the serum. About the months of systematic destruction of my reputation. When the press conference ended, I walked off stage to find Celine waiting. Thank you, she said simply. For fighting when everyone else gave up. Thank you for remembering, I replied. For trusting me when you had every reason not to. The fallout was immediate and devastating for the Hayes and Novak families. Isabella's father was arrested within 48 hours. Hayes Pharmaceuticals' stock crashed. Federal investigators seized company records. Within a week, evidence emerged of decades of illegal drug testing, bribery, and corporate fraud. Evelyn Novak tried to maintain her innocence initially. But when Adrian released her own recorded conversations, evidence he had been gathering for months, she had no choice but to resign from all positions in the family company. She was charged with conspiracy, fraud, and attempted murder. The woman who had terrorized me now faced years in prison. I watched her perp walk on television. She looked smaller somehow, diminished without her power and authority. I felt no satisfaction, only a hollow sense of justice finally being served. The medical board contacted me with profuse apologies. My suspension was lifted. My record was cleared. They offered me any position I wanted in their organization. I declined. I'm starting my own practice, I told them. One that focuses on ethics and transparency. One that puts patients before politics. Adrian offered to fund it completely. Consider it reparations for everything my family put you through. But Celine had a different idea. Partner with me, she said. I'm inheriting control of the family company. I want to transform it into something ethical. Something good. I need people I can trust. I'm a doctor, not a business executive, I protested. You're someone who stands up for what's right, Celine corrected. That's exactly what I need. After a week of consideration, I agreed. Together, we began transforming Novak Industries into a medical research foundation focused on cryotechnology and terminal illness treatment. We made everything transparent. Every research project was independently audited. Every breakthrough was shared openly with the medical community. The company our mothers had built on lies became something clean. The trial was a media sensation. Isabella Hayes and Evelyn Novak sat at separate defense tables, their lawyers arguing that each had been manipulated by the other. But the evidence was overwhelming. The recorded conversations, the financial records, the testimony from dozens of witnesses. Celine took the stand on the third day. She spoke calmly about remembering her mother's face as the cryochamber sealed. About waking 30 years later to find the same woman claiming to have grieved her. About realizing her entire life had been stolen because she had asked too many questions. My mother didn't freeze me to save me, Celine said clearly. She froze me to silence me. And she would have let me die if Dr. Hart hadn't fought to save my life. Isabella's testimony was more desperate. She claimed she had been young and manipulated by her father. That she had not understood the full scope of what was happening. But then the prosecution played the recording from our confrontation. Her own voice saying she wasn't supposed to wake up. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Evelyn received 15 years for conspiracy, fraud, and attempted murder. Isabella received 20 years for her role in both the original poisoning and the recent sabotage. Their families' fortunes were seized for restitution to victims. As the verdicts were read, I watched from the gallery. Adrian sat beside me, his face expressionless. Are you okay? I asked quietly. My mother tried to kill my sister. My fiancé was a spy sent to destroy our family. No, I'm not okay. He looked at me. But I will be. Eventually. Thanks to you and Celine. After the trial, reporters swarmed us on the courthouse steps. They had questions about the verdict, about our plans, about how it felt to finally have justice. It feels incomplete, I admitted. Because Isabella's son, the boy from the flight, is innocent in all this. He's 8 years old and his mother is going to prison. That's not justice. That's just more pain. Marcus, my brother, reached out after the trial. We met at a coffee shop, the first time we had spoken properly in years. I'm sorry, he said immediately. I should have stood up for you. Should have testified about what really happened on that flight. You were protecting your job, I said. Your family. I understand. No, you don't. Marcus looked tired. I was protecting my comfort. My safety. I watched them destroy you and I did nothing because it was easier. That makes me complicit. He pulled out an envelope. I resigned from airline security. I can't work for a company that protects powerful people over truth. What will you do now? Celine offered me a position. Head of security for the new foundation. She said she needs people who've learned from their mistakes. He looked at me carefully. But only if you're okay with it. After what I did, you're my brother, I interrupted. And everyone deserves a second chance. Especially people who actually want to change. We talked for hours. About our childhood. About the years we had not spoken. About how power and fear can make people compromise their values. It felt like healing. Like maybe our relationship could be salvaged after all. 2 months after the trial, the foundation officially launched. The grand opening was covered by every major news outlet. Celine and I stood together, cutting a ribbon while cameras flashed. The Novak Hart Foundation for Medical Ethics, Celine announced. Dedicated to transparent research, patient advocacy, and ensuring that no family ever again uses medicine as a weapon. We gave tours of the facilities. State-of-the-art research labs. Patient care centers. Training programs for medical professionals focused on ethical practice. It was everything I had dreamed of building. And it only existed because we had fought for the truth. Adrian found me later in my new office. You did it, he said. Built something good from all this chaos. We all did it, I corrected. Together. He smiled slightly. About that, Celine thinks I should ask you to dinner. As more than just business partners. I looked at Adrian carefully. Your sister is trying to set us up? Apparently she thinks we'd be good together. Something about shared trauma and mutual respect creating strong foundations. He seemed embarrassed. I told her it was inappropriate to interfere, but she's very persistent. She gets that from her mother, I said, then immediately regretted it. Sorry, I didn't mean. No, you're right. Celine is strong-willed and determined. She just uses those traits for good instead of evil. Adrian sat across from me. I'm not asking because Celine told me to. I'm asking because over the past months working with you I've seen someone extraordinary. Someone who fights for what's right even when it costs everything. Someone I'd like to know better. I thought about it. About everything we had been through. About how trust had been built through crisis and conflict. One dinner, I said finally. No pressure. No expectations. Just two people who've survived a war trying to figure out what peace looks like. Adrian's smile was genuine and warm. I can work with that. That dinner led to more. Slowly, carefully we built something real. Not a relationship born from trauma or gratitude, but one based on respect, shared values and genuine affection. Celine was delighted. I knew you two would be perfect together. You balance each other, her idealism with his pragmatism. You're a terrible matchmaker, I told her, but I was smiling. But thank you. For everything. 6 months after the foundation opened, we received unexpected news. Isabella's son needed medical treatment. His seizures had returned worse than before. His father, disgraced and bankrupt from legal fees, could not afford proper care. Isabella called from prison asking for help. I know I don't deserve anything from you, she said, her voice broken. But my son is innocent. Please. He needs treatment I can't provide. I discussed it with Celine and Adrian. We could refuse. Would be justified in refusing. But that would make us like them, choosing power over compassion. We'll treat him, I decided. Through the foundation. Pro bono. Because he's a child who deserves medical care, regardless of what his mother did. We brought Isabella's son to the foundation's medical center. His name was Tyler and he was terrified. Is my mom here? He asked immediately. No, sweetie, I said gently. She can't be here right now. But we're going to take very good care of you. Over the following weeks, we treated Tyler's seizure disorder. It required careful medication management and monitoring, but he responded well to treatment. During his stay he talked about his mother. About how she used to be before everything fell apart. She was nice sometimes, Tyler said. She read me stories. She made me laugh. It was a reminder that even villains were human. That Isabella had been a mother, not just a criminal. That her choices had consequences for more than just herself. When Tyler's treatment was complete, his father came to collect him. The man looked broken, ashamed. Thank you, he said quietly. After everything Isabella did, thank you for helping our son. Children aren't responsible for their parents' choices, I replied. We treat everyone who needs help. That's what ethical medicine means. As they left, Adrian put his arm around me. You're a better person than most people would be in your situation. I'm just trying to be the person I needed when everything fell apart, I said. Someone who sees humans instead of enemies. Someone who chooses healing over revenge. The foundation thrived. Within a year we had expanded to 3 locations. We published groundbreaking research on cryomedicine. We trained hundreds of medical professionals in ethical practices. And we helped thousands of patients who needed advocates. I was reviewing quarterly reports when Celine burst into my office. You need to see this, she said, pulling up a news article on her tablet. It was about Heiress Pharmaceuticals. The company had been fully dismantled, its assets sold to pay restitution. But the article focused on something else. A whistleblower program we had established at the foundation. Former Heiress employees were coming forward with evidence of additional crimes. Medical experiments on unwilling patients. Falsified drug trial results. Bribes to regulatory officials. This is bigger than we thought, Celine said. This goes back decades. Then we keep investigating, I replied. We keep fighting. That's what we do now. 2 years after that terrible flight, I stood at a podium addressing a medical conference. Hundreds of doctors and researchers filled the auditorium. They delayed my flight and almost killed an heiress, I began. That day I thought my career was over. I thought the truth had lost to power. I was wrong. I told them the story. All of it. The sabotage. The cover-up. The fight for justice. But this isn't just about what happened to me or to Celine Novak. It's about what happens every day in medicine when we let power and profit override ethics and truth. I showed them data from our foundation's research. Evidence of how transparency improved patient outcomes. How ethical practices led to better medicine. The old system protected the powerful. The new system we're building protects the vulnerable. And that's how it should always have been. The applause was thunderous. After my presentation, dozens of doctors approached wanting to partner with our foundation. Medical schools requested our training programs. Hospitals asked for consulting on ethical oversight. That evening, Adrian, Celine, Marcus and I celebrated at a quiet restaurant. To the Novak Heart Foundation, Celine raised her glass. And to the truth that saved us all. To family, Marcus added. Both born and chosen. To second chances, Adrian said looking at me. And to the woman who taught us all what real courage looks like. I raised my glass. To justice. To healing. And to turning the worst day of your life into something that saves others. We drank to that. Later, as Adrian and I walked along the river, he asked, "Any regrets?" I thought about it. About the flight. About Isabella's cruelty. About the months of destruction and pain. No, I said finally. Because if none of that had happened, we wouldn't be here. Celine would still be frozen. Your family would still be corrupt. Isabella would still be planning her next victim. Sometimes the worst things lead to the best outcomes. Philosopher and doctor, Adrian teased. I'm a lucky man. Yes, you are, I agreed, making him laugh. 3 years after the trial, Isabella requested a meeting. I was surprised she was eligible for visitors, but her lawyer explained she had been a model prisoner. Participating in rehabilitation programs. Taking responsibility for her actions. I agreed to visit. Not because I forgave her but because I was curious. Isabella looked different. Older. Tired. But somehow more real than she had ever seemed before. Thank you for treating Tyler, she said immediately. I heard he's doing well. He is. His seizures are under control. Because of you. Because you chose to help him even after everything I did to you. Isabella's eyes filled with tears. I don't deserve your compassion. I don't deserve anything from you. But I need you to know, I'm sorry. Truly, deeply sorry for what I did. Why did you do it? I asked. Why delay that flight? Why damage the serum? You could have let things play out. Celine might have died naturally from the compromised treatment. I panicked, Isabella admitted. When I heard Celine was being revived, I realized all my plans were falling apart. He would remember. She would tell. Everything I'd built would collapse. So I tried to ensure she never woke up. She looked down at her hands. I was young when my father first involved me in his schemes. He made it seem exciting. Powerful. By the time I understood how wrong it all was, I was too deep to back out. That doesn't excuse what I did. Nothing excuses it. But I want you to understand. I became a monster one small choice at a time. And now I'm trying to become human again. One small choice at a time. She smiled sadly. I'm taking classes. Psychology. Ethics. Trying to understand how I became someone who could hurt people so easily. Maybe someday I'll be able to help others avoid the mistakes I made. I looked at this woman who had tried to destroy me. Who had almost succeeded. And I realized something. Holding on to hatred hurt me more than it hurt her. I hope you succeed, I said finally. I hope you become the person Tyler needs you to be. Because that little boy deserves a mother who chooses love over power. Thank you, Isabella whispered. For everything. For being the person I should have been. I left that prison feeling lighter. Not because I had forgiven Isabella. Forgiveness was complicated and might never come fully. But because I had chosen to let go of the anger that had been weighing me down. On the drive back I called Celine. I just visited Isabella. How did it go? Better than expected. He's trying to change. Really trying. Good, Celine said. Not for her sake but for Tyler's. Every child deserves a parent who chooses to be better. Wise words from someone who didn't have that. Exactly. That's how I know how important it is. We talked about the Foundation's new initiatives. About research projects and patient programs. about everything we were building from the ashes of what had been destroyed. When I got home, Adrian was waiting with dinner. How was the prison visit? Cathartic. Strange. Unexpectedly hopeful. That's very you, Adrian said affectionately. Finding hope in dark places. We ate together, talking about our day, making plans for the weekend. Normal couple things. Hard-won peace. That night, as I was falling asleep, I thought about that flight 2 years ago. About how one woman's cruelty had led to all of this. The investigation. The trial. The foundation. This relationship. Everything good in my life now had been born from that terrible day. They had delayed my flight and almost killed an heiress. But in doing so, they had awakened something in all of us. The courage to fight corruption. The strength to demand truth. The compassion to heal rather than harm. Isabella Hayes had wanted to destroy me. Instead, she had made me stronger than I had ever been before. And that was the sweetest revenge of all. Not destroying her in return, but building something so good from her attempted evil that her cruelty became the foundation of countless people's healing. Now the world knew who really delayed that rescue. Who really damaged that serum. Who really tried to kill Celine Novak. The truth was public. The guilty were punished. The innocent were protected. And I walked away from it all beside people I loved and trusted, vindicated, respected, and finally completely free.